Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away, but if you've experienced abandonment like me, then it can often feel like you're faced with a choice between protecting yourself or keeping people close. So let's look at how we can find the balance. Hi, I'm Melissa, and if you're new here, so am I. It's lovely to meet you. I'm an accredited counsellor and I specialise in abandonment and grief. And if you haven't already guessed it, today we're going to be talking about why holding boundaries is so difficult, how the fear of abandonment is showing up in your relationships, and if you stick around to the end, we'll talk about how working relationally in therapy can help. So, as always, grab yourself a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's get into it. If you grew up with a fear that somebody could leave at any moment, then setting boundaries can often feel like taking a risk. You might be familiar with these questions because you may have asked them yourself, such as, if I say no, will they leave? Or if I ask for what I need, will they stop loving me? And that's because when you've experienced abandonment, setting boundaries can feel incredibly uncomfortable, and I mean really painful. And it's not because you don't want to set them, it's more about how others react to them. So if you've ever said no to someone, it's usually about what happens inside of you once you've done it. So if you've ever felt a rush of panic, guilt or shame afterwards, it's usually that feeling that you're trying to avoid. The guilt is trying to tell us, have I done something wrong? The shame is usually about, is there something wrong with me? And then the fear is, what if they're angry with me? And of course, what if they leave me? And these reactions don't come out of nowhere, they're learned. So if you grew up in an environment where expressing your needs is met with punishment, emotional distance or withdrawal in any way, then boundaries can start to feel like you're doing something wrong. This then may show up in your adult life as taking responsibility for other people's feelings. You might say things like, I was a bit harsh, I should have softened it, or I'll go and apologise to make things better. But you're just doing this to make the situation feel safe again, and not necessarily for them, but for you. When we experience someone's disappointment, anger, or frustration, it can trigger that old fear of rejection or abandonment. And if that fear is strong enough, we might even try to fix it, but not necessarily because we've done anything wrong, but because we want to be more in control of how we feel again. The reality is, people can feel disappointed, upset, and even angry, just like you do sometimes. Doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. And if they're an adult, they have the capacity to process their own emotions, because it's not your job to take that on. So here are some phrases you can use to remind yourself of when this happens. I'm allowed to set this boundary, even if it makes them uncomfortable. Their feelings are their responsibility, not mine. I don't have to fix this to be worthy of love or connection. And discomfort doesn't mean I've done something wrong, it means I'm growing. The last phrase is my favourite, and that's purely because it's natural to want to avoid feeling discomfort. But actually learning to sit with your uncomfortable feelings is a sign that you're growing as a person. The more you practice holding boundaries, the more you realise that it's okay for other people to feel the way they do in order for us to be okay. My daughter has been awake for a while now. If you have a 1-year-old and they're just not sleeping, I am definitely there with you. So I'm going to have to speed this last bit up just so we can get the job done. Many traditional therapy models focus on thoughts, feelings and behaviours. And whilst that is important to my work, I tend to focus more on the relationship between us. So what's being said, what isn't being said, as this can often be quite reflective on how your relationships feel outside of the therapy space. Instead of asking, how can I help? I might think more about what kind of relationship does my client need from me? This just shifts the focus from trying to fix the problem to understanding how you experience relationships in real time. One of the biggest things I tell my clients is the more self-awareness you have, the more you understand your patterns, and then in essence, you have more options on how to respond. Therapy can become your safe space because you start to experience relationships in a new way. The more you practice gaining trust, holding boundaries, or just maintaining connection in therapy, the easier it becomes to apply those skills to other relationships outside of that space. If you made it to the end of this video, then give yourself a round of applause. I love to end my videos with asking a question, and today it's, do you find it hard to set boundaries without feeling disconnected? Let me know your thoughts below. And if you're on this journey to understanding yourself better or how you show up in relationships, then don't forget to like and subscribe, as I post a new video every week. Otherwise, until next time, bye for now.